Welcome to the fourth episode of the series, Playbook for Monetizing Your Music Rights. Today we deal with recording agreements, what you're actually signing, and what to watch out for. Over the past 3 episodes, we've built a strong foundation. You now understand the difference between composition and sound recording rights. You know how copyright protects you, and you've learned about the 7 different ways your music generates income. Today, we're talking about one of the most important moments in any artist's career, signing a recording agreement. This is the contract that can either launch your career to incredible heights or lock you into years of regret and lost income. I've seen both outcomes. Today, I'm going to break down exactly what's in a typical recording agreement, which terms you should negotiate, and the red flags that should make you walk away. A recording agreement is a contract between an artist and a record label where the label agrees to fund and distribute the artist's recordings in exchange for ownership or control of those recordings and a share of the revenues. Let me break that down into simpler terms. The label says, "We'll pay for you to record your music. We'll market it, distribute it, and promote it. In exchange, we own the master recordings and we split the money that comes in, with most of it going to us first to recover our investment." The key word there is investment. Labels see recording agreements as business investments. They're taking a financial risk on you, since your musical contents may not translate into commercial success, and they structure contracts to protect that investment and maximize their return. There's nothing wrong with this in principle. Labels do provide real value: funding, expertise, distribution networks, and marketing reach. The problem comes when artists don't understand the terms they're agreeing to, or when labels take advantage of young artists who are desperate for a break. There are key terms you must understand. Let me walk you through the most important terms in any recording agreement. There are sections you need to read carefully, question, and negotiate. 1. The advance. The advance is money the label pays you up front before your music generates any income. But here's what many artists don't realize. An advance is not free money. It's a recoupable loan. Recoupable means the label will deduct this money from your future royalties until it's fully paid back. So, if you get a $500,000 advance and your royalty rate means you should earn $50,000 from sales, you won't see that $50,000. It goes to pay back the advance. You won't earn any royalties until the full advance is recouped. Now, advances aren't necessarily bad. They give you money to live on while you focus on your music. Just understand that they're loans, not gifts. You could negotiate for a higher advance if the label is asking for significant rights or a long contract term. 2. Recording costs. Most contracts state that recording costs are also recoupable. This means if the label spends $50,000 on studio time, producers, mixing, and mastering for your album, that money gets added to what you have to recoup. Now you're not just repaying the artist advance, you're repaying thousands of dollars more before you see any royalties. This is why you need to understand and approve recording budgets together with the label. Don't let the label spend recklessly on your behalf, because you're the one who has to pay it back. Some smart artists negotiate for non-recoupable recording costs, or at least caps on how much can be spent. 3. Royalty rate. Your royalty rate is the percentage of revenue you earn after recoupment. In most recording contracts, artist royalty rates typically range from 20 to 25%, depending on your leverage and the label's investment. But here's the crucial part. Percentage of what? Some contracts say percentage of gross receipts. That's the total money the label receives. Others say percentage of net receipts. That's after the label deducts their costs, which can be substantial. Let me give you an example. If your song generates $1 million in revenue, at 20% of gross receipts, you earn $200,000. At 20% of net receipts, after the label deducts 40% for costs, you earn only $120,000. Same royalty rate, vastly different income. This is why the language matters. Always negotiate for gross receipts or clearly defined net receipts with limited deductions. 4. Contract term and album commitment. The contract term is how long you're bound to the label. Some contracts are time-based, 5 years from the date of signing. Others are album-based, 3 albums, regardless of how long it takes. Album-based terms can be dangerous because if the label delays production or doesn't support you, you could be stuck for much longer than expected. I've seen artists trapped in 7-year relationships because they signed a 3-album deal, but the label only let them release 1 album every 2 to 3 years. Negotiate for clear timelines. If it's album-based, add clauses like 1 album every 18 months or artist can terminate. Also negotiate for reversion clauses, terms that say if the label doesn't release your music within a certain time frame, the rights come back to you. This is the big one. Who owns the master recordings? In traditional recording agreements, the label owns the masters completely and permanently. This means, even after your contract ends, even after all costs are recouped, the label still owns your recordings. Forever. But here's what's changing in the modern music industry. More artists are negotiating for limited ownership terms. Label owns the masters for 7 years, then they revert to the artist. Some artists are also negotiating for shared ownership. Label and artist co-own the masters 50-50. And increasingly, successful artists are keeping their masters entirely and just licensing them to labels for distribution. If you're an upcoming artist with no leverage, you might have to accept label ownership initially. But if you're established with a fan base, you have negotiating power. Use it to protect your long-term interests. 6. Publishing rights. Remember, we talked about composition rights versus sound recording rights in episode 1. Some recording agreements try to give ownership of both to the label. The label might include clauses saying they get 50% or even all of your publishing rights, your ownership of the composition itself. This is a separate asset from the master recording. These are 2 different revenue streams, and labels will try to take both if you let them. My advice? Keep your publishing separate. If the label insists on taking publishing, negotiate for a smaller percentage, or for it to be through a separate publishing deal with better terms. Better yet, retain your publishing entirely and sign with a separate publishing company or publish your own works. Territory and distribution rights. Territory refers to where the label has rights to exploit your music. Is it just Canada, all of North America, worldwide? If a Brazilian label is only equipped to promote you in Brazil, but they're asking for worldwide rights, that's a problem. They'll control markets they can't effectively service, and you'll lose international opportunities. Negotiate territory limitations based on the label's actual reach and capabilities. This means doing some research on the label. Red flags and negotiation tips. Let me give you the practical checklist. These are the red flags that should make you pause, ask questions, or walk away. Red flag 1. Pressure to sign immediately. Any label that says sign today or the offer disappears is not a label you should trust. Legitimate businesses understand that contracts need to be reviewed and ensure that the artist gets independent legal advice. Predatory businesses use pressure tactics. Take the contract to a lawyer. Take your time. If the opportunity is real, it will still be there after you've had proper advice. Red flag 2. Vague language about costs and deductions. If the contract says things like reasonable marketing expenses or standard industry deductions without defining them, that's a problem. You need specific caps and clear definitions. Otherwise, the label can deduct almost anything and reduce your royalties to nothing. Red flag 3. No reversion or termination clauses. If there's no way for you to get your rights back or exit the agreement under any circumstances, you're signing a trap. Pause. 1 sec. Negotiate for reversion if the label doesn't release your music within a certain time or if they fail to meet minimum promotional standards. Red flag 4. 360 deals without justification. A 360 deal means the label takes a percentage of everything you earn. Not just recording revenue, but also touring, merchandise, endorsements, and other income. Some labels justify 360 deals by saying they'll invest heavily in building your entire brand, not just your recordings. If that's true, fine. But if they're just taking percentages without providing real support in those areas, it's exploitation. Question every revenue stream the label wants a piece of and make sure their involvement justifies their cut. Red flag 5. Extremely low royalty rates with high deductions. If you're being offered 10% of net receipts after packaging deductions, distribution fees, marketing costs, and other expenses, you're likely never going to earn royalties. The math simply doesn't add up in your favor. Negotiate for higher rates, fewer deductions, or transparency requirements so you can audit expenses. Negotiation. Tip 1. Know your value. If you're coming to the table with a fan base, streaming numbers, or previous success, you have leverage. Use it. Don't accept the label's first offer. Counter with better and more favorable terms. Negotiation. Tip 2. Get everything in writing. Verbal promises mean nothing. If the label executive says, "Don't worry, we'll renegotiate after the first album," get that commitment written into the contract fast. Negotiation. Tip 3. Consult a lawyer. This is non-negotiable. Hire an experienced entertainment lawyer before you sign anything. Yes, it costs money. But the money you'll save and earn from a properly negotiated contract will be worth many times the legal fees. In my experience, I've saved artists lots of money by negotiating better terms or advising them to walk away from bad deals. In our next episode, we will be getting a better understanding of performance rights and collecting societies, and how they collect money on your behalf. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.